Ho, ho, ho. Whew. What a great Christmas present this is for anybody even bothering watching this tin pot YouTube channel when it comes to FPL. But in all seriousness, this is something I enjoy doing. I just enjoy talking about FPL. I mentioned it to Ray on a voice note. I only say voice note because he writes it, but I always call them voice messages. So a voice message that I sent to Ray. I was just making the point that I legitimately just enjoy talking FPL and talking football in the sense of I love going through score predictions and looking at the history of the various teams involved with one another just to help me kind of make a decision for myself. And oddly, over the past few weeks, the history has done quite well. For instance, it predicted the West Ham Bournemouth game to be 1-1 last week. It also said that the Chelsea game would be very difficult against Everton, and it also suggested regarding Liverpool at home to Fulham that there's no way that Liverpool are keeping a clean sheet. Probably Liverpool will win, but not to 0. And just little bits and pieces here or there, and it's always interesting looking at the history between the two teams because it kind of gives you an idea of usually what happens in these particular fixtures. Like for instance, talking of West Ham versus Brighton love to play West Ham, apart from one anomaly, which was where West Ham won 4-1. Actually, Brighton love playing West Ham, and that's exactly what happened. They don't lose. And it's the same with Fulham. They like scoring against Liverpool. Just look at the history. They love scoring against Liverpool. And certainly from my personal perspective, as I said to Ray on a voice message, like I said, I just enjoy chatting absolute twaddle about a hobby that I enjoy playing. Now, don't get me wrong, this season the luck has completely been out of my favour this year. Not that I ever get any luck, but after listening into a bit of Mark Southern's solo stream and seeing the transfers that he's made, and also Andrew Ferguson of the Patreon channel. What the hell does that mean, Steve-O? I don't know. But certainly Andrew Ferguson of the Elite FPL community, he's doing very well this season, and he's basically brought in the same players that I've got. And I think, well, if they're bringing in the players that I've already got, or are doing the same moves that I've done, clearly I must be doing something right. So hopefully, over this Christmas period, or this New Year period, the holiday period, I'd like to think that my luck will somehow change, and actually I may be able to get some points and start climbing the ranks in the various mini leagues that I'm in, because I am doing absolutely pants over the past several game weeks, and it's been very, very frustrating. I've been doing quite a lot of Patreon podcasts, and I can already hear someone going, "Why do you keep doing Patreon all the time for?" As I keep saying, it's as easy as doing this, what I'm doing right now. Just press a button, I press record, I record a podcast for however long I can be able to talk for, and then I just press stop, and I just upload it. It takes 5 seconds, quite literally 5 seconds. And I like just recording, like I say, absolute twaddle, and just chatting with the Patreon audience, and because they give me feedback, and feedback which requires replies, and I like replying it via podcast format because I just think it personalizes everything. And there's a lot of free content that I create. So you may be thinking, what do you mean free content? Well, you simply go on Patreon. There's literally a button that says, do you want to join this channel for free? Yes. Done. Right, then you can listen to the various podcasts, which I have done for all members. You can just listen to for free. The majority of them come underneath the paid bracket, but if you do want to support the channel, you can just easily go to our Patreon. If you enjoy consuming Elite FPL content, I just highly recommend going over to Patreon. And the point being is, like, over on Patreon podcasts, I do talk a lot about FPL, my thought processes with my team, and the various players that I'm bringing in, and future transfer plans and whatnot. And it's just an easy way to express my point of view in a very easy, concise manner, rather than, when you're on a live stream and it's just the obvious interruptions from various people and the delays in internet and whatever. And obviously in live streams you're getting constant feedback as well, and it's kind of why I just stop reading the chat now, because most of the time there's quite a few people that literally are just talking along with you, and you're just thinking, do you want to just listen to what I'm saying? Because it's quite, I'll be honest with you, it's quite disturbing what some people actually write in the live chat, and I just think, are you listening to anything myself or Jason are actually saying? Are you just spouting your own thought processes off at the same time? But anyhow, but what I do want to do today is just quickly go through the games on Boxing Day, give you my own personal score predictions, where this season I'm doing okay in the Super Brew. I think of, 60 people that are participating in it. I think I'm something like 16th, something like that. There are some people in there that are doing exceptionally well. I would bring it up, but I can't, because ironically the Super Brew website is a pile of cag. Oh, can't be swearing on Christmas, Steve. I can. So yeah, unfortunately I don't officially know where I am in the Super Brew Elite FPL mini league, but I know I'm in the top 20 at least, minimum. No, you're not, Steve. You dropped out. But yeah, I do pride myself on my predictions, and like I stated before, I personally am always looking at whoscored.com, as I've been doing for the past 11-12 years, just to get a general idea of where my personal predictions align with the history. Another thing I like doing, as I said to Dan on the voice message, is I always find it really interesting when you look at the home and away table, and for argument's sake, I'm just going to pick a name out of the Santa hat. Let's just pick a name out of the Santa hat. Right, here we are. Here's a piece of paper just to kind of, what does it say? Crystal Palace. Right, thanks. So we choose Crystal Palace as the example of a team in which people will say words to the effect of, "Ooh, Selhurst Park, really, really tough place to go." And then you look at the actual data and it's, no, they're pretty pants. And as I'm probably about to prove myself wrong here, but I know I did this a few weeks ago and it generally was actually true. Well, yeah, in fact, yeah. Crystal Palace at home, they've won once, drawn 4, lost 4, scored 7, conceded 15. Or you'll look at a team like, for argument's sake, Wolves are good at home. No, they're not. They've won 1, drawn 1, lost 6, scored 12, conceded 20. Whereas away from home, there are teams that you may not think are good, but are actually very good away from home. I mean, immediately I'm looking at Nottingham Forest as an example of a team who, away from home, they've won 5, drawn 2 and lost 2, scored 13, conceded 12. Whereas, ironically, at home, they're not as good. Won 4, drawn 2, lost 2, scored 10, conceded 7. So, ironically, this is coming off the back of them actually keeping a clean sheet, but what that tells me about Nottingham Forest is that they are doing, as we know, very, very well, but they do concede goals. Again, I'm fully aware I'm saying this after the back of a 2-0 win against Brentford of all places, but prior to that, they'd lost 3-0 to Arsenal. Okay, they beat Ipswich 1-0. They lost 3-0 to Nottingham Forest, to Man City. They beat Man United 3-2, and they beat Aston Villa 2-1. Just a general idea, but they are a team that can get the odd clean sheet here or there if and when necessary. And as I've stated before, I think that Nuno has got an excellent team and an excellent team setup where he can exploit certain matches which fall into his favour and can come away with the amount of wins that he has done. So 9 wins, 4 draws, 4 losses. Scored 23, conceded 19 in total. And even when you look at, say, the likes of Bournemouth, who, again, at home, like Nottingham Forest, they don't lose many. They've only lost twice. Teams like Man City have lost twice at home. Fulham have lost twice at home. And, I mean, Brighton are another team at home. They are very, very good. They just don't lose. They've lost once all season at home. That's why I do like looking at all this small, basic data that's in front of me to kind of give me a general idea of how to select my team. So, going on that, obviously the Boxing Day fixtures, it all kicks off at 12:30 with Man City up against Everton and then finishes with Arsenal and Ipswich on Friday on the 27th, which is a bit annoying. As a traditionalist, I do think if the Boxing Day fixtures all just happen on one day, have it all on one day, and I just think it'd be just like a bit like the final day of the season. I think the final day of the season and Boxing Day should be the 2 days of the year where all the games are played at once at the same time, all at 3 o'clock. None of this 12:30, 5:30, 8 o'clock, 7:30, 8:15. Do it all at the same time. Yeah, but Steve-o, what about the TV rights? I couldn't give a shit about the TV rights. Unfortunately, that's the day and age we live in. So, like I say, we kick off with Man City versus Everton. I just think personally that Man City are going to wash Everton aside here. As Dan said to me on a voice note, the voice message, there we are, there's that word again. Everton, the 0-0 specialists, and they have had, I think, 4 or 5 0-0s this season, but I think Man City, this will be a game that they should be, well, they're going to be controlling very, very well. It's just a case of how easily can they break down Everton's defence, and then my answer is I think they'll do quite well. That's why I'm going to go with just a 4-0. History, it is suggesting a win to nil. In fact, Man City do enjoy playing Everton a lot. It's not particularly high scoring. On 3 occasions, they have scored 3 goals. We got a 3-0, 3-0, 3-1. So, yeah, it looks like Man City, in fact, there's no looking about it. They do enjoy playing Everton, full stop. In fact, the only time that they drew a game was, ironically, at the Etihad on the 31st of December, where it ended Man City 1, Everton 1. And on that day, we had, have a guess who scored? Yep, Haaland. He scored. And it was Damari Gray who got the equaliser in the 64th minute on that particular day. And yeah, that's the only time that Man City have dropped points against Everton in the last 6. I should clarify, in the last 6. Moving on to Bournemouth versus Crystal Palace. Again, a team that we've just mentioned are very, very good at home. And Crystal Palace, a team who, of late, have a bit of form, just a little bit of form here or there. I say a little bit of form prior to their 2 games against Arsenal, where they conceded 8 goals. They'd won 2 and drawn 2, drawn with Newcastle and Man City, and beat Brighton, surprisingly, and Ipswich away from home. So they're against Bournemouth here. Very, very, very tough place to go. I just think with the form that Crystal Palace have got at the moment, and the fact that Bournemouth, they are doing very, very well this season, but I do expect this game to be both teams to cancel each other out. Probably go with like a 1-1, maybe a 2-1 victory either way. In the score predictor, though, I will be probably putting 1-1. But what I will say is that if you have any defenders in this particular fixture, play them. So Jason, if you're listening, which you won't, play Kirkes. Although Crystal Palace have got the history on their side, but the last 2 meetings between these two, Bournemouth have come out on top. So we've got Bournemouth 0, Crystal Palace 2, Bournemouth 0, Crystal Palace 0, Bournemouth 0, Crystal Palace 2, Crystal Palace 2, Bournemouth 0, Crystal Palace 0. Can you guess what Bournemouth scored? Well done, 2. And then Bournemouth 1, Crystal Palace, yep, you guessed it, 0. So it's not exactly looking like it's going to be a very high scoring game, but there is a good chance that a team will be keeping a clean sheet. Chelsea versus Fulham, a match in which I am expecting some rotation. I do expect Nicholas Jackson to play, but I think this game is going to be very, very tough for Chelsea. It's a London derby. If you've ever been in the Hammersmith and Fulham area, you will know that Stamford Bridge is just a stone throw away from Craven Cottage, whatever they're bloody called. And I remember walking from Craven Cottage just up the road to Stamford Bridge, and I was like, sorry, what? And the weird thing is that Stamford Bridge is next to the underground station called Fulham Broadway. And it's just literally on a road. And these two will, I think, be I think this will be a really, really good test, actually, for Chelsea. I do expect Chelsea to come through this game, but Fulham will give them a right go. And in fact, when we look at the Premier League table, when it comes to the form of Fulham and Chelsea at home and away, respectively. So we'll start with Fulham. Fulham actually, away from home, they don't like winning, they don't like losing, they just like to draw. 1-2, lost 2, drawn 4, scored 10, conceded 9. In fact, the last 4 matches have ended as 2-2, 1-1, 1-1, and they've got a 2-0 win in there. Whereas Chelsea at home, one of the form teams at the moment, at home again, they like to win and draw. They don't lose that many. They've only lost once this season, and in the 8 games, like I said, they won 4, drawn 3, and lost 1. Scored 14, conceded 9. And I do expect Chelsea to come through this and I'm going to go with a 2-1 victory to Chelsea. But is this going to be the game where we see quite a bit of well, not quite a bit, but some rotation with Chelsea, because they can bring in the likes of Nkunku for Jackson, for instance. They've got Ipswich the following Sunday on the 30th, and then it's another home local derby with Crystal Palace. Then it's the FA Cup. Then it's a home to Bournemouth, and then they've got the break. And I think this is a good time for the Chelsea manager to be able to rotate his squad. And even though I do expect Jackson to play, if he doesn't perform against Fulham, and by all accounts he didn't perform, he missed quite a few chances against Everton from what I heard, I think it may be the time for Maresca to be like, do I stick with Jackson, or shall I give Nkunku a run against Ipswich? And I think that could be the case for this. I think if you own Jackson, you'll be fine for this game. But I would not be surprised in the Ipswich game if he gets rotated. The history, again, a very, very low scoring game. In fact, it's almost identical to Bournemouth versus Crystal Palace. Chelsea 2, Fulham 0, Fulham 2, Chelsea 1. But then here we go. Chelsea 0, Fulham 0, Chelsea 2, Fulham 0, Fulham 0, Chelsea 2, and Chelsea 1, Fulham 0. So again, if you've got any Chelsea defenders, play them in this fixture, because at the end of the day, they're probably going to come. There's a high probability based on the history that there's a clean sheet involved in this. But in my opinion, I do think Fulham will give them a game, and I think it'll end Chelsea in Chelsea's favour, just 2-1. It's a tough fixture, next one. Newcastle versus Aston Villa. I think it's going to be very, very difficult for both teams. And, you know, I said to Ray, I'm predicting 2-2. And it wouldn't surprise me if, Isaac was to get 2 goals in this particular fixture. But it does seem like it's the home team that enjoys playing in this particular fixture. And I am proven wrong here. There are lots of goals in this, lots of threes. In fact, there's lots of goals in this particular game. We've got a 1-0, a 4-0, a 3-0, a 3-3, a 5-1, a 3-1. And the scores are all over the place. You've got Newcastle are the team that do enjoy this fixture. Of the last 6 fixtures, which include a 3-3 in a friendly, but in those last 6 fixtures, in fact, Aston Villa have only won 1, which was 3-0 back on 15th of April 2023. Newcastle last 3 have not lost. In fact, to be honest with you, if you've got Newcastle assets, you're going to be in fine form. You're going to be very, very happy because they do enjoy playing Aston Villa. Like I say, I'm going with a 2-2 draw myself, but very, very difficult to choose between these two sides. Nottingham Forest versus Spurs. I'm expecting Nottingham Forest to win quite, not necessarily comfortably, but I think to take advantage of Tottenham's terrible defence at the moment. I think that Nuno should be able to get the best out of this here, but you know what Spurs are like. 1 minute they're losing 6-3 to Liverpool, the next minute they're beating Nottingham Forest 4-0. That's the kind of team that Tottenham are, and certainly in the last 3 they do enjoy playing Tottenham. In fact, well, again, if you've got Tottenham assets, you're going to be very happy because out of the last 6 fixtures, 3 of them have ended 3-1. In fact, 2 of the last 3 matches have ended 3-1 in Tottenham's favour. In fact, Nottingham Forest have only beaten Tottenham once, which was a 2-0 victory back in 2022. Other than that, we've got a 3-1. These are all Tottenham wins. 3-1, 2-0, 3-1, 2-0. We got a bit of the pattern here. 3-1, 2-0, 3-1, 2-0, 3-1. Get the idea with that. So yeah, I'm finding this quite difficult to call, but I'm going to back Nottingham Forest here, and I'm going to go with Nottingham Forest to win that. 2-1, something like that. Southampton, West Ham, God almighty, I'm going to be relying on Gerard Bowen in this particular fixture. If Bowen fails in this, then, well, how on earth am I going to get points from him if he's going to fail in this game? Southampton current form at the moment in the Premier League is just absolutely abysmal. They really are bad. The last 6 fixtures, they've lost 4, drawn 2. All season, they've won 1, drawn 3, lost 13. I mean, at home, it gets even worse for them. They've won 1, drawn 1, lost 6, scored only 7, conceded 21. How are West Ham away from home? Let's just quickly find out. The simple answer is they're just as bad. In fact, they don't even score many goals. So this is going to be, unfortunately, a very, very low scoring game. Now, if West Ham win, there's a high chance that the likes of Bowen could be involved. And by all accounts, according to Dean Ashton on Radio 5 Live, when Bowen was put up front, that's when West Ham looked a bit livelier. So hopefully that goes in my favour. But yeah, based on that, I don't think getting much out of this. But I do expect West Ham to just about get through this game. And I mean just. I'm going to go with a 1-0. I'll probably put 2-1 to West Ham, which seems to be my favourite prediction on Super Brew of late. Just 2-1, 2-1, 2-1. But certainly I do expect West Ham to just nick this. Wolves versus Man United. Are we going to get news about Cunha by the time you're watching this? We've already found out. As it stands right this second as I'm recording this, we've had no news whatsoever. So is Cunha going to play against Man United? But if he's available, he will play. And it would be really interesting to see what the history says. But I expect Man United to come through this. I'm predicting 2-1. Although the history, this fixture likes a 1-0, so we're going to play a game. You're just going to predict what the score is. Bearing in mind, I've just said this fixture likes a 1-0. So here we go. This is down to you now. What do you think the score is? Wolves 0, Man United 1. Man United 0, Wolves 1. Wolves 0, Man United 1. Man United 2, Wolves 0. Man United 1, Wolves 0. Congratulations, you've just won a prize. The only anomaly in this game was on the 1st of February 2024, where it ended Wolves 3, Man United 4, and on that day, Marcus Rashford, Højlund, Scott McTominay and Mainu scored the 4 goals for Man United, and it was Sarabia, Kilman and Neto that scored the 3 goals for Wolves. So yeah, I'm expecting Man United to just edge this, and I mean just. I'm going to go, like I said, 2-1 to Man United, and hopefully Fernandes will prove his doubters wrong, Mr. Reed, and hopefully will come through with a double-digit score for people like me. Liverpool-Leicester, people are going to be going, well, it should be ending 5-0, 6-0, 9-0, 10-0, whatever. I don't think it'd be that. I think that Liverpool will be making a few changes in this particular fixture. I don't think they need to be putting out directly a full-strength team. Realistically, I'm going to put a 4-0 in Super Brew, but truth be told, you know, if Liverpool were to win this 2-0, I wouldn't be surprised. But history, it's a bit. The last 3 fixtures, Liverpool have scored a few goals. We got 3-0 Liverpool, 4-0 Liverpool, 3-1 Liverpool. Prior to that, just 2-1, 2-0, 1-0. Like I said, I'm going to be predicting 4-0. But let's just quickly look at the... You mean you're going to look at it and tell us, Steve? Oh, yeah, well, none of you are listening to this shite. But certainly at home, we know Liverpool are extraordinary. They've scored 15 goals, conceded 5. In fact, their last 6 fixtures have been 2-2. We've got a 2-0. We've got a 2-0. Bit of a theme here. 2-1. 2-1. And then a 3-0. So it's looking likely to be a clean sheet for Liverpool, for Liverpool. Leicester, on the other hand, do like scoring goals, or more specifically, conceding goals away from home. Scored 10, conceded 22. It's pretty much saying there that their games end usually like a 2-1. But I mean, we've got 4-0 Newcastle. This is all away fixtures. 4-1. It's mental, isn't it? 3-0, 1-1, 3-2. And a 4-2. So, of late, Leicester seem to be scoring lots of goals away from home, but they're conceding a lot as well. So, yeah, I think captaining Salah, I'm stating the bloody obvious, is probably the right move for most people to be doing. Then we move on to the Friday, December the 27th, Brighton versus Brentford. This is very, very difficult for me to call. I'm probably going to go with Brighton to win this. Have a guess. Yep, 2-1. The history suggesting potentially a clean sheet. There's been 4 clean sheets in the last 6. In fact, yeah, like I said, we got a Brentford 1-0, a Brentford 2-0, Brighton 2-0, a 0-0 in there as well. Brighton have only actually won twice. In fact, they're unbeaten against Brentford in the last 4. We got a 3-3, a 2-0, a 2-1, a 0-0. So, and admittedly, one of them's a friendly, but it doesn't matter. History is there for a reason. So yeah, I'm expecting Brighton to come through this. Although their form of late, from what I remember, Brighton's form of late in the Premier League hasn't been particularly profitable. In fact, I would be right in saying that they've only won 1 in the last 6, and that was against Bournemouth away from home in the 2-1. Other than that, they've drawn 3 and lost 2. Brentford, on the other hand, we know how bad they are away from home. In fact, they are bottom of the table. They've won none, drawn 1, lost 7, conceded 16, only scored 6 goals. Lost 5 out of the last 6 fixtures. The only draw they got was away at Everton when they were down to 10 men, and Flecken came through with a double-digit haul in a 0-0. So, yeah, I'm expecting Brighton to come through this okay. And then finally, we've got Arsenal versus Ipswich. There's going to be a lot of hope on Arsenal scoring lots of goals in this game. Certainly from my point of view, that's what I'm hoping. Every single one of these games in the last 6 fixtures has ended for a team winning 0. Apart from one, actually. Just seeing it right at the bottom there, which happened on the 1st of November 2000. So all these fixtures date from 2000 up to 2011. In fact, I wonder if we can look at a bit of... I'm hoping it's got something on the match sent here for that particular game in the League Cup, which it doesn't. Does it have anything for the particular game that they played in the other League Cup? No, it won't have. So the history dates back a lot, but we've got a 2-1 Ipswich win on the 1st of November 2000, but then we've got 1-0 Arsenal, 2-0 Arsenal, 2-0 Arsenal, 1-0 Ipswich, 3-0 Arsenal. So certainly you're looking like, so people that've got Arsenal defenders are going to be, or I'd like to think, will be keeping a clean sheet in this game. I mean, this of all the games you'd expect Arsenal to keep a clean sheet, and this has got to be up there with a 75-80% chance of Arsenal keeping a clean sheet in that. I'll be predicting 4-0. I'm sure most people this or listening into this will be predicting 4-0. Even, like I say, the home form. I mean, Arsenal haven't even lost a game this season, scored 17, conceded 6. The last few games at home, 0-0 to Everton. They beat Man United 2-0. We then have a 3-0 against Nottingham Forest. You get the idea with that. It seems to be a case of, look, Arsenal do like to keep clean sheets at home, and I'm really hoping as a double Arsenal defender owner that will come through, because as you'll notice with my team here, patrons will have known what I've done and others alike, but this is my team as of now. I've taken a -8 in my team. It had to be done, and in fact I've been the benefit of basically making money, and not only making money but also the fact that if I hadn't done these moves as a -8, I wouldn't be able to afford these particular moves. So I got rid of Mazraoui for Gabriel, which I'd like to think is a big upgrade. In fact, I know it's an upgrade. We then got rid of Saka, and I just brought in Fernandes. He's the safest, in my opinion, the safest pick. I believe that Man United fixtures are pretty decent, to be fair. He's nailed. He's got penalties, and look, they've got Wolves away, who are absolutely, let's get real here, they're gash. Newcastle at home, not the greatest of fixtures. Liverpool away, not the greatest of fixtures. But Man United always seem to turn up in these types of games. Then they got Southampton at home, Brighton at home. These next 5 fixtures are all over the place. But I just think, from a Man United perspective, and the fact that he is one of the key components to Man United at the moment, even though apparently, according to Mr. Reed and various others, he's been rubbish, I'm happy with the move. With Gabriel, look, I'm looking at one of the best defences in the league along with Liverpool, and their upcoming fixtures, like I say, you'd like to think, not only from a defensive aspect but obviously from an attacking aspect, that he will be able to, get me some form of returns over the next 4 fixtures: Ipswich, Brentford, Brighton and Spurs. They're not horrific, they're not great, but they're not horrific. And like I say, Arsenal are, from a set piece perspective, and especially from Gabriel's point of view, very, very good. And the punt that I've gone with is, as you can see there, Gabriel Jesus. Look, I spoke to Ray about it. I said, look, this is a 2-week punt for me. This is a 2-week punt for me. It's Ipswich at home. He's in form at the moment, and I'd like to think that he will be given an opportunity to play, prove himself, that he can be the #1 striker. And with Saka being out, he could be one of the key men to start getting the goals and assists for Arsenal. So I think that Ipswich game is a great game for him to prove his worth. They've got Brentford away, who just concede goals for fun at home, and like I said, I'd like to think that he's still given an opportunity to play in this particular fixture. And it's Brighton away, Spurs at home. Again, I think for a 2-week punt, maybe even 3-week punt, depending on how he gets on, because the idea from me and Ray is that when we get to game week 19/20, we're going to be bringing in Isaac and Enzo. That's the plan. But as we all know, plans are, unfortunately, I've had to bring all my plans forward. So all these players that I've got here now, I was going to be bringing in, but not this week. It was going to be further down the line. I was supposed to be saving my transfers this week. I was legitimately thinking, you know what, Saka, last game of the weekend at home to Ipswich, always seems to do well at home, always gets double-digit returns. You never know, great fixture. Why not captain him? He gets injured. Gabriel, I was always going to be bringing him in at some point, but I'm thinking, how the hell am I going to do this if his price is going to continue rising, and I've got garbage in my team like Mazraoui, who, from an FPL point of view, are absolute gash. Well, maybe bringing him in now, possibly. Yeah, I'll give it a go. And then with Jesus in for Cunha, now that could backfire. That legitimately could potentially backfire, with the fact that you have Cunha that could be available versus Man United and could be very, very profitable. Could be profitable. But right now, I'm willing to take the punt on the fact that, look, this guy in Cunha is looking like he's going to get banned. You've got then Jesus at home to Ipswich. Anybody listening into this or watching this, I'd like to think would back Jesus over Cunha of the two. I'm happy with the moves. Like I said, I've had to bring the moves forward by 2 or 3 game weeks, but hey, I can't do anything about the Saka injury. Price changing within the game itself. Like I say, the fact that Gabriel went up by 0.1, Jesus went up by 0.1, Saka went down by 0.1. These things are big, especially at this time of the season. My team is looking, when you look at it, barring no Isaac, you've got 3 very, very, very good defenders in there. Plus I've got Robinson on the bench if and when required. So we've got Trent, Gabriel and Timber. We've got Bowen, Palmer, Salah, Fernandez, Ahmed, and then Pedro and Jesus. I'm taking the punt / risk, if you want to call it, on Jackson maybe not starting against Fulham. And also the fact that, like I say, Fulham at home, not a great fixture. I still expect Chelsea to win, but Jackson's just always hit or miss. And Pedro at home to Brentford, one of the worst teams away from home, and Brighton being pretty decent at home. I'd like to think that punt, if you want to call it that, will potentially pay off. Potentially. But hey, at the end of the day, this is all about, hedging your bets. And I'm certainly somebody who is thinking that potentially, although literally as I'm looking at it here, Nicholas Jackson, well, he's more of his big double-digit haul. So we've got 10 points away at Wolves, 16 points away at West Ham, 12 points away at Leicester. Seems to me that they're the games where he seems to get the double-digit hauls, whereas at home, it's like the single ones, like 9 points against Brentford, 6 points at home to Aston Villa, 9 points against Newcastle. So, yeah, it's going to be a tricky one from my point of view. I do like the double up of Man United against Wolves as well, because truth be told, even though I'm going 2-1 to Man United, if the game was to end as it did previous last year, 4-3 to Man United, I would not be surprised if that was to happen at all. I would not be surprised whatsoever. It's going to be a very, very interesting day. And like I said, Boxing Day, lots and lots of fixtures. I mean, I'll be at work throughout literally the whole... In fact, Thursday is going to be the equivalent of a Saturday, where I'm assuming Mark Goldbridge will be streaming it during the Man City versus Everton game, so I'll be listening into that. And then you've got all the 3 p.m. kickoffs. So what's that? 5 games at 3 o'clock. Then you've got the Wolves versus Man United game, and then I won't even be able to watch the game. But then you've got Liverpool versus Leicester on the Boxing Day. Now, from our point of view, streaming wise, I've suggested to Jason that I want to be doing streaming for the Sunday the 29th, so next week Sunday 29th of December, where we've got a load of games at 3 o'clock essentially. Starts with Leicester, Man City at 2:30, but I may be doing a stream for that. And then we've got a few previews coming up, and then there's a few midweek fixtures on from the 14th of January, but I'm actually in the FPL studios. You know what I mean, FPL Juice Studios. Imagine me on the official FPL podcast. Jesus God. Tuesday the 14th, I'm actually in FPL Juice. But on Wednesday the 15th, I've suggested to Jason that we could do another stream with a few of us on screen again, because I really enjoyed that. I thought it was a really good, enjoyable stream with how many people were on it in the end? 7-8 of us in total. So yeah. Anyhow, what more can I say? Absolutely nothing. Thanks for listening into this absolute twaddle, going through what I think about Boxing Day and my team up there, as you can see up on screen. And yeah, hopefully you've had a good Christmas. Hopefully you get a green arrow. Hopefully we can actually all enjoy ourselves, and hopefully we get a load of points like we did on the previous game week. Well, some of us did. I didn't, but still. Cheers for watching, and as ever, if you do enjoy the content myself and Jason bring to you, then by all means make sure you are hitting the subscribe button and the like button if you enjoyed the video. If you do want to support the channel financially, you can join our Patreon. There are 2 tiers, well there's 3. You can join for free, and then you can get access to some free Patreon podcasts, which does involve a 2-part special with Jason, which was really, really cool to record. And there's the odd free members video here or there, but if you want to just say thanks for all the hard work you do, there's a $1.99 tier, and then to get access to the majority of the podcast that I do, that's just a simple $4.99. Anyway, other than that, let's just get the hell out of here, and yeah, catch you guys later.